2-1 if my internet's working all right. Right, here we go. We're live. Day 8. I'm super excited about this one. Aaron's been a dear friend, mentor, and just sort of guiding star when it comes to anything around mental health, physical health, picking myself up when I'm down, kind of always being that person that I can give a call or a text message and vice versa. He checks in, and yeah, it's just nice to have that friendship and mentorship. Aaron's got an amazing background in health and fitness, lived in Australia, now back in beautiful New Zealand, in one of the most beautiful parts of the country in Wanaka. I've got the photo behind me. I still can't remember where that tree is. Obviously, I'm blind to that tree in the background of Lake Wanaka, I think it is. But today's really about, like, what resonated me really was when I brought Aaron up to speak at one of our retreats in Fiji, and it was about the topic of not only surviving but thriving. But right now, a lot of the world is just thinking about surviving, where I think maybe we need to put a bit of an optimistic or opportunity time around how can we thrive through these times. So conversation around that. But Asa, maybe just give us a bit of a background of just a snapshot of your life and kind of where you're at right now.
So do you want the Facebook version, all the nice stuff? You know, I went to Otago University, had the opportunity to go and play rugby in the UK, and then from there went to Australia. Married to an Australian, and we live in central Otago. I have 2 young children, 4.5 and 2.5. So that's over the course of maybe the last 20 years, I've been involved with a lot of coaching. Currently, sort of doing some work for the Otago Rugby Union as well, sort of in that coach development space. So that's all the nice stuff. If I'm being honest, that was what I did at Otago University was probably develop a pretty good drinking habit. Very classic Kiwi, I'd say. I don't want to sort of generalize too much, but real sort of binge drinker. That sort of evolved into maybe say 4 or 5 times a week, and then I was just smart enough to realize, like, I got myself in a bit of a hole. So when I had the opportunity to go to the UK and things like that, it was the nice thing is when you shift countries, like you get to change your environment and you make a few changes. So got to the UK, sort of changed things up a little bit there. And then when I went to Australia again, sort of managed to, again, new environment, change things a little bit, and then really started looking at maybe trying to understand how I got myself into that sort of situation. Obviously, working as a personal trainer and things like that, a lot of early morning starts, which was actually a bit of a godsend, because that meant you couldn't go out at night. And then also, forced me to start really looking at a lot of those key issues around sort of mindset and mental emotional health, and what were some of the drivers for the drinking and everything like that. So that's the real story. Over the course of the 20 years, I've been lucky enough to work with lots of very high performing individuals. You start to see sort of certain patterns, as well as working with children and things like that, which I really enjoy as well. So that's the nitty gritty of it, mate. So hopefully we can it's a good starting point.
Dive a bit deeper. So, like, as you said, working with high performing individuals, whether it be on a sporting level or a CEO level. I know, Sydney is where you had your where you're working out of, is very fast paced, and you would have seen, and being a personal trainer, yes, it's not just about lifting weights. You're literally sometimes their sounding board, and you're getting dumped with everything in that 1 hour sessions. And sometimes you might train for 20 minutes and talk for 40 minutes because they want to unpack it with someone. What were some of those traits that you're seeing coming through in highly performing individuals, that the positive and the negative?
It's a good question. Like, if I was to, maybe look back, say around that 2009, 2010 period where, there's the global financial crisis, So a lot of the individuals that are working with and things like that were really at the forefront of that, like a lot of Macquarie Bank staff members and things. So you ride that emotional wave. Now, again, what I tend to see is, there's a stressful situation. Look, I can either handle it by drinking, doing drugs, maybe having an affair, all those sort of typically sort of what we'd say is sort of dysfunctional patterns, or the people that I used to see quite often go, look, I need to really sort of dive in and go down this other path and look after my health, well-being, because I know that's going to give me the best opportunity of performing at a level that I want to perform at. So once you start having those conversations, then it becomes very easy to say, look, we need to put a pretty sort of holistic program together. So it's not just about the 20 different variations of bicep curls that you need to know. It's actually about how do we dial in your nutrition.
Nothing wrong with bicep curls, man.
Well, I was going to say, that's the starting point for the conversation. You got to build the relationships on it, and then So what's the good nutritional plan and mindset sort of thing, and then how does that actually fit in with regards to where I am on this sort of whole big stress continuum and things. One of the interesting things is a lot of the people that I was working with, very very successful. So you'd probably say A-type personalities. So if they're going to do anything, they're going to bloody go balls out, and sometimes that could be the worst thing for them. So it's if we sort of think about, maybe we've got like three stress buckets. One would be sort of physical. So maybe that's what are the physical stresses on our job. Maybe one of those is actually being sedentary. We're sit in a seated position, or what's the training that I've done the day before. What injuries have I got? Sort of tension in my body. So that's maybe like your physical stress bucket. Then you've got sort of your lifestyle stress bucket, where you might say, what's my nutrition like, my hydration, my sleep, some of those real big rocks from a lifestyle point of view. And then, your mental emotional bucket. So what are maybe some of the financial pressures, or what's my relationship like? Because your body only sort of knows stress is stress. Mm-hmm. If we need stress to get adaptation, to make ourselves more resilient, but then we also need to build recovery in there as well. So we get our stress, that actually takes us down a little bit, we recover, up we go, and we go through that sort of cycle. If we get it right, then over time we get this nice sort of gradual improvement. Quite often, if we, as an example, maybe our lifestyle bucket is almost full, we've got poor sleep, shit food, and we're not really hydrating our system, then their overall stress bucket's almost ready to overflow. So quite often, because we're feeling pretty average, mm-hmm. I'm going to come in and I'm going to bloody hammer myself in the gym. We haven't got much wiggle room, so therefore, for a short time I feel really, really good, and then over time, that's when you start to crash. And then your body will always slow you down. So you either, you'll get injured, your performance will decrease, or you get that sickness. So you might have like that cold that just lingers around, say for 3 or 4 weeks, whereas everyone else is getting over it in 2 or 3 days. If you really keep pushing things, then one day you just don't want to get out of bed, and then you're really in a hole, because the hormones, everything like that, are really sort of tanked as well. So we tend to think of things in a very isolated manner, but we are a system of systems, and it's all going to influence. It's all interconnected, I suppose.
The topic on stress, and I think again that was one of the sort of aha moments when coming and speaking with you, and you setting up a plan with me many years ago, was coming from a professional athlete or striving professional athlete, and hockey and everything was about go, go, go. Everything was, how do you train harder, like the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. And we can reference this to anything in life, I think, especially right now as the world gets a bit of a reset, call it whatever we want. But right now it's getting people to think differently, act differently, and really do some probably internal work that maybe is not there. The word stress has got this whole negative connotation around it that is bad for us. But what you did for me was framing it like you just did there in regards to stress is good in certain buckets, and knowing the recovery strategy on the other side. And what would you say to people right now that are those type A personalities like myself, to not just go into this, I've got 4 weeks away from the office, I just train, because they don't have that office environment of go. So they're trying to take that go into somewhere else where it's probably not the best for them. So what would you say to like people right now around stress? Because it's such a big question.
It's a big question. It's a good question. Like obviously, for all these things, we need to have an awareness first and foremost, because from there, then you can start to develop a plan. So, what are the things in my life that are really stressing me out at the moment? Because again, if you look, particularly anxiety, that'll be driven quite often by looking into the future too much. So we need to control the controllables. So once we feel like there's too many things, we're juggling too many balls, there's too many things that we can't control, that's when a lot of sort of mental emotional stuff will really take hold. So actually just sort of sit down and go, okay, what are the things that are actually sort of driving a little bit of my stress at the moment from a mental emotional point of view.
Yep.
And then from there, what are the small things I can do to actually go in the direction that I want to go? Because small steps over a long period of time is the key really to sustain change.
Do you reckon this was a bit of a wake-up call for us, this crisis right now? And obviously it's literally, as I was having the conversation with our mutual friend Curtis yesterday, is sometimes we have a choice about transitioning into a new job or taking time away or whatever. But right now, the whole world actually got forced to shut down and pivot, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, what do you reckon? There's going to be some. This is the new normal out the other side. Like it will not be the same as what it was before. Do you think? Or maybe it will go back. Well, I don't know. It's a big question in regards to what we're doing right now.
It's definitely, personally, I think it's probably one of the biggest challenges that we will go through in our lifetime. It's quite a moment in history. Now, with regards to what the world would look like, I'm not really too sure. But one thing I agree with is that it would definitely be different. So again, a good place to maybe start, is to try and think about, what are some of the opportunities. So yes, there's going to be change, but change is a good thing. We've got to embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, maybe a good strategy to deal with some of these things is, you sort of expect the worst but hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can actually start putting things in place. Okay, do a few wee scenarios. What could life look like? What are some of the real key things that are important to me as an individual? So again, it's back to a lot of that sort of Simon Sinek sort of work around what's your why? What are the real values that you hold important? We had a wee chat before we jumped on here, and obviously talking to you, family is one thing that comes through very, very clearly. So all those big rocks, I think it gives us an opportunity to go back and readdress them. Would you agree with some of those statements?
Yeah, it gives you a chance to do some inside work where that generally, and like you've preached it and taught it and embraced it for so long, is looking inside before going outside. And I think for a lot of people, including myself, it was 2.5 years ago, I suppose, this journey started, and I feel like I'm better prepared than I am for this crisis than I would have been 2.5 years ago by going inside and kind of stopping with the busyness of do and grow and work to what's really important. So yeah, I'm grateful to have started that, and it's not an easy journey. It's painful some days, it's uncomfortable, but yeah, maybe it's teaching us to be able to sit in the uncomfortable and it's actually okay. But knowing that through turbulence, there's always blue sky on the other side. As a pilot, it's we've all been on a plane, the majority of us. We've had some bumps, and we always come out the other side. It's only temporary, and this is only temporary. Who knows how temporary? But out the other side, I think I think the world's just going to be a bit more cohesive and working together, because the way to beat this thing right now, and let's use New Zealand as an example, is us banding together to stay home and reach out to the people that we care about and that we probably haven't done. Like, we've been too busy to reach out and connect and build on what's really important. So yeah, definitely your statements ring true, man. So
yeah, if I was to look at myself personally, what a wonderful time for me to be able to spend with my kids. Like I feel I'm pretty fortunate. Like I spend a lot of time with the kids as it is, but nothing like this before. So there is I think you mentioned it before, that word, you're grateful, gratitude, lots of, you've got to sort of find those opportunities. So again, from a mental sort of well-being point of view, like even, get in a journal and things like that, and just at the end of each day, maybe write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Doesn't have to be about saving the world. It might be something because, I'm grateful for being at home, seeing the kids and playing and, whatever it is. But again, that just gives you that positive reference point, as opposed to shit, maybe I've lost my job or whatever it is, sort of scenario,
Well, I mentioned it yesterday with Kat Hoke. Obviously, I've shared with you that I've gone to prison on a mentorship program, and watched some of those guys that, they made a mistake or made a wrong choice earlier in their life. Some of them are not, especially in America, you're not coming out, 3 strikes, you're gone. What they would do to be at home right now with their family and kids. So just being able to think some things in perspective and doing some reading, like Man's Search for Meaning, which I've just listened to. I don't know if you've read it, about the story in
Viktor Frankl. It's pretty pretty inspiring book, isn't it?
Life is pretty rosy right now for us compared to what he had to go through. What are some tools that really help you with your work? And it's funny, Peak 40, when I first met Aaron, I was late 20s, and I was like, you need a Peak 30s program, but now I'm 36. I'm like, I can slip right in the door to Peak 40 and be in the demographic. But what are some tools that you've really seen, and especially for guys, let's not beat behind the bush, is like your superpower is about working with guys and being able to, especially rugby players. If we think rugby players in New Zealand, it's as you said, and you've had your challenges, is like we are built on a DNA of coming off the farm, strong, lift, grow, train, to be able to bring some vulnerability and bring what have been some good tools and strategies that you've seen work in professional, and then also your Peak 40 side of things for guys, in particular around this 35 to 55-year-old age bracket.
I think particularly when you're talking about guys, the simpler we can make it.
Come on, mate.
the better. Nothing personal, of course, nothing personal. But so what are the, we sort of touched on it before. What are the small changes that you can make that are going to be sustainable? So, as an example, you might have a starting point for someone that says, look, I feel I need to start an exercise regime. Their starting point might be, I'm just going to get my running shoes and my shorts out each night and pop them at the end of my bed.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not too stressful. Hopefully over, they keep seeing them enough, then they go, okay, well, I might actually put them on. I'm going to go for that sort of 5 or 10 minute walk. Unfortunately, what I've seen, probably over the last sort of 20 years of coaching, what guys will tend to do is go, okay, I need to start an exercise regime. So I'm going to go out and I want to go for a 15K jog, try and beat my time that I used to do when I was 17 or 18 in peak physical shape, and then wake up the next day so bloody sore that they can't do anything that day. And then that first day becomes 2, becomes 3, and then, there's no actual habit formation.
Mm.
So understanding where you're at, you've always got to understand your strengths and weaknesses as an individual as well. Because for some people, maybe that all or nothing personality is that, so I'm just going to change everything, and that's what works for them, and they set up pretty clear sort of boundaries.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, you sort of just got to drip feed it in there. So how simple can you make it? Understanding your own strengths and weaknesses is a pretty good starting point for everything, because really, when we're looking at sort of our health and well-being, so whether that's on a physical or more mental, emotional, it's a long-term game that we're playing. Anyone can train hard for 2 weeks or eat really well for 2 weeks. So I would say, as an example, like if we were to look in the situation that we're in now, week number 3 is going to be really difficult for people. As a generalization, because again, that's what I've seen from a coaching point of view. People will come in and they'll make these sort of significant changes. They're really kicking goals and stuff like that. Things are looking good. 3rd week, everything always falls apart, because I think, it's probably just the reality. Look, give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back. I've been doing pretty well, and then all the little things just start sneaking back in. And then before you know it.
So with week 3, that's a really good similarity. Is like, I'm with you. Like that week 3 of habit building, whether it's meditation or getting back in the gym, is freaking hard, because you've got over the excitement and the quick gains, and you're like, okay, this is long term. And we're week 3 of self-isolation coming around the corner. I totally feel it coming. It's like, oh my goodness, like this is it for another couple of weeks. What week 3, when that person comes in the gym for you, misses a couple of sessions, how do you approach it?
Well, accountability is a good thing.
Yeah.
So whether you have someone there that's just checking in and making sure you're actually doing what you're supposed to do, I think is a very powerful tool. Again, it goes back to maybe like the starting point. We were saying that if you make it so simple that you can't help but do it. So again, you might have, your workouts and things like that. As an example, you want to leave the gym feeling better than when you started.
Yeah.
As opposed to, every training session is an absolute bloody fight to the death. So by about week number 2, week number 2, week number 3, you're that bloody sore and knackered. You go, well, I might just give myself that day off, and then it becomes a very easy conversation, because we rationalize things very easy to reinforce in our mind what is right, isn't it? So we're in this lockdown situation. I can't get to the gym, so I really wanted to do. I can't get the weights that I need, all that sort of stuff. So maybe I'll just have a rest today.
Yeah.
As opposed to, look, I'm not going to let perfection get in the way of good, and then something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So as opposed to, I've got to go and train for an hour, maybe it's just going to be, I'm going to do something for 5 or 10 minutes. And then it just takes away all those obstacles. How easy can it be? And then before you know it, you've actually created a bit of a habit, and it becomes an important part of your life, so that when you do miss it, you're going, shit, I actually need that because I feel better, whether that's sort of physically, mental, emotionally. and then you're you're good to go basically.
It's yeah, I'm going to take notes for week 3 around the corner. Thank goodness I got a gym in the house. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll be doing. But just to stay on top of things, I suppose with the question going through your head, and I suppose fortunate because you're already in the online space, but personal trainers, gyms, and this whole fitness model that has been built and hasn't really changed in 60 years. What opportunities are you looking at, obviously, as a personal trainer, and then also in the rugby space? Who knows when we're going to be kicking footies around the park, hopefully soon. What excites you around this change that is inevitable in the fitness industry, health industry, I shouldn't say, wellness, what do you want to class it?
Yes, I suppose that's a good question in itself. What is the industry that we're actually involved with? Because again, look, if I was to sort of think about, a lot of personal trainers coming into the industry and things like that, it's typically their focus point is it's all about the exercise. Yeah. But the reality is, if you understand the game for a long time and be successful, it's actually like anything in life. I think it's how do you build that relationship. So that comes back to communication and building trust, and definitely, as we come through this, there's more need to probably having a holistic approach as well. So be able to have those conversations, around, maybe some of that mental emotional stuff. You're not trying to be, you're not trying to fix the problem, be a psychologist, things like that, but you just got to develop, your learning skills.
You see like a collective, obviously, your beautiful wife, Kate, holistic, and the nutrition point, both of you guys in the nutrition space. And what I'm seeing in the travel industry is versus the old game where everyone's solo. There's an event popping up every corner. You look at Flight Centre and the brick and mortar businesses, everyone's trying to compete in the same space. It's just like, here's a package, there's a slight value add. And it's not really disrupting the whole space versus what I've always kind of lent into is this whole collaboration model. And it's maybe the world is forced to collaborate right now and to be able to, you see some of the places that are like in New York, and a friend of mine, Curtis Christopherson, owns Innovative Fitness, and how quickly he pivoted his 14 studios in the US to this holistic approach online. And it started with a 30-day challenge, beat the bug, like 1,400 people straight away. But it was collaborative. So there was mindset coaches, there was nutrition, everyone being able to work in unison versus you go to a nutritionist, then you go to the gym. They don't really talk. Do you reckon that's what the leaders will come out of this is? Unfortunately, there'll be a lot of people that won't be able to make it and they'll change industry. And then there'll be people that evolve and collaborate. You pay a fee per month and you get access to this collective wisdom that holds you accountable.
I think, as you said, like collaboration is key for most things. Yeah. If we tend to stay in our own silos and things like that, we're probably not serving people as well as what we could. Mm-hmm. And then, the other key piece of it that you mentioned right at the end there was sort of the accountability as well. Because the reality is that what we're trying to do 9 times out of 10 is change behavior. And that is difficult. It takes more energy, even though quite often a lot of the concepts and things like that are very simple. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean change is easy.
Yeah.
So, so how do we work in that sort of supporting that sort of behavioral change side of it is the key really, because as you said, things haven't really changed that much the last sort of, 50 years, and you'd have to look at us as a society, and you'd probably say it's a failing industry. because our health and wellness or well-being is declining.
Mm.
But yet we've got more gyms and more people in gyms and things like that than even before. So why is this sort of this disconnect? You know,
it's really around. We come back to that point where we started with stress. Yeah, it's like we can eat man, this might bite me in the bum, but it's just like we seem to eat the healthy food, we seem to move, and the yoga and the meditation, but there's still all this outside stress, whether it's work, getting to work, putting the kids, there's all this other stuff. So, and no one's really building a program or a holistic approach, as you say, around stress. It's a buzzword that gets talked about all the time, but it's like coming to the point when it's like stress management or your stress engine and truly understanding it is what's really causing these a lot of stuff that's happening that's not tipping the momentum bar in the right direction. It's going the wrong direction. Obviously, food and everything else has a big play to it, but at the end of the day, stress and mindset.
Yeah, I I agree 100%. Look, at the end of the day, training is just another stressor. You eat. Your food choices could be a stress on your system as well. Drive inflammation, etc., etc. So understanding that all we're trying to do is put a bit of stress into the system, get recovery, and that's how we get better. It's a very simple but effective way of looking at everything, and that's that'll affect how we think, how we feel, how we look, and perform.
What's something you're really excited about right now, and in 12 months' time, what would that champagne moment be for you that would be on this call and you're like, wow, it's been an amazing 12 months?
Something in the short term. After this, I'm going out to play with the kids on the swings, so that's a highlight. We're very lucky that we've got a little bit of space around us and things like that, and we're see beautiful mountains. So it's quite a nice day here. So to be out in nature, which I think is a pretty powerful tool. Mm-hmm. In 12 months' time, that's a good question. What would look if we could get through this next 12 months and then everyone is a bit more mindful about each other, so you treat people how you like to be treated is pretty good starting point. So if everyone is, in a very simplistic way, just be nicer, that'd make for a pretty good world.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely obviously challenges and things like that going forward. So we will need to develop or be mindful about, where other people are at, and it's not all about us. And so
if the world could just be kinder,
just be nicer. It's not too much to ask, is it?
On that note, let's all be nicer to each other. And I just really want to thank you, Azza, for just being a top mate and always being there for me when I'm having a shit moment or a good moment, and keeping me in some sort of nick and shape, and inspiring me to keep fit, healthy, and just moving. And you're an inspiration as a dad as well. Obviously, this hat here is that we're all striving to be better dads, and you set a good example for me, man. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. It's been nice.